Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So, we are now on our part 2 of a pre-colonial period in the Philippine history. So, today proceed na po ta for our part 2 para madagdagan na po ninyo ang learning sa pag-abot sa pre-colonial period sa toong bansa sa Philippines. Okay? So, I hope na makatabang ni na mga information sa inyo ha. And magamit ninyo pag take ninyo sa board exam. Like, I prepared a lot of questions, a lot of reviewer para sa inyo ha. The only main goal I have is na makahelp sa inyo ha. So, this is all for free. This is all updated materials sa letter review. So, yeah, praying na kamo tanan makapasar and kamo mag-top, okay? So kamo na lang ang mag-top para sa ako kay kailangan man kog 2 points. So, kung pwede pa lang nako mabalik ang panahon, pwede pa lang ako mag-usab og take og board exam, well, mag-take gyud kog board exam. Kasi before, I don't have a chance na mag-review center. So, the only thing I did is nag-self-review and yeah, I can feel sa inyong shoes karon nga sometimes na mga information na dili mag-sink in. So, kailangan ninyo ready ang inyong self. Kailangan ninyo i-focus ang inyong self muna sa review. Kay para ang mga information mag-sink in gyud sa inyong a long-term memory and pag-abot sa pag-take ninyo sa exam, ma-retrieve to ninyo nga mga information. Okay, so without further ado, let us proceed to our part 2 of pre-colonial period sa Philippine history. Okay, question number 31. Which pre-colonial settlement became a major center for gold work and maritime trade? Again, which pre-colonial settlement became a major center for gold work and maritime trade? Letter A, Tondo. Letter B, Butuan. Letter C, Cebu. Letter D, Pampanga. So, I prepared 10 seconds for each question. 10 seconds for you to think, for you to exercise your brain. So, timer starts now. Okay, the only thing I want you guys is to subscribe my YouTube channel, to participate in the comment section, i-comment ninyo yung mga answers kay para ma-exercise ang inyong mga brain, para ma-exercise ang inyong studyhan, kay para I believe kasi in the law of exercise nga mas mo kuan gyud siya sa imuha, magmo-sink in, mas mo kuan gyud na siya sa imuha pag imong i-exercise. So, exercise na pag-comment down and then palihog kog subscribe for more let reviewers like this. Okay, so the correct answer will be which pre-colonial settlement became a major center for gold work and maritime trade? The correct answer asa daw ang pre-colonial settlement, that is letter B, Butuan. Okay? Muna siyang first settlement sa pre-colonial para sa major gold work for maritime trade, ang Butuan. It is because sa Butuan before, muna siya ang renowned for its gold artifacts and extensive sea links with China and Southeast Asia. So muna siya ang settlement for gold gold work. While Tondo, on the other hand, is a early polity in on Manila Bay, and this is known for trade but less for fame for gold work. And then ang Cebu naman, this is important trading port, later in Spanish foothold, but not the gold work hub. Okay? Ang Cebu, kuan siya for trading port, pero dili siya ang gold work hub during sa pre-colonial. And then in Pampanga naman, this is known for agrarian center, not a maritime gold trade nexus. So let us proceed to question number 32. What was the major export commodity of pre-colonial Filipinos? What was the major export commodity of pre-colonial Filipinos? Letter A, spices. Letter B, textiles. Letter C, gold. Letter D, rice. Timer starts now. Okay. So again guys, sa wala pa naka-subscribe din na palihog ko og subscribe, please do like and subscribe kay para mas maadto pa ning ato ang mga video sa mga mag-take og board exam na nangit og mga reviewer god. So para makuan siya into wider audiences, pag-like and subscribe sa dinhaa. Okay, number 32, what was the major export commodity of pre-colonial Filipinos? That is letter C, gold. Okay, this is during pre-colonial period ha. So ang major export before sa mga Filipinos sa pre-colonial period is the gold. It's because ang gold mauna siya ang highly prized by Chinese and Malay traders. Central to wealth and diplomacy. So daghang gold, daghan mo na siya ang na mayaman. And then when it comes to spices, this is exported in smaller quantities via regional trade networks. So smaller quantities lang siya before kesa sa gold. So ang Philippines kasi way back before daghan gyud siya og gold. Okay, mo na siya nga ginailug-ilugan siya sa mga certain countries. Okay? Sorry. And textiles, this is produced locally, most for domestic use only. So, dili siya kuan ang textiles. And ang rice, this is a staple crop, seldom exported in bulk outside immediate neighbors. So, dili kayo siya gina-export ang rice before kay para lang siya sa consumption sa local. So let us proceed to question number 33. Which imported goods was highly valued by pre-colonial Filipinos? Which imported goods was highly valued by pre-colonial Filipinos? Letter A, porcelain. Letter B, iron ore. Letter C, cloves. Letter D, pepper. Timer starts now. Okay. So, which imported good was highly valued by pre-colonial Filipinos? That is letter A, porcelain. So, mani siya ang mga imported goods nga highly valued sa pre-colonial Filipinos. So, goods ato ang ginakuanan na dili ang katungkuan sa gold. So, ang porcelain, it is because ang porcelain, this is luxury wares from China. Okay? This is status symbols among Dato and Maharlika. So, ang exported, hold on. So, ang imported, ang usually ang kanang high valued na mahal kaayo paliton sa gawas is ang mga porcelain. It is because ang maka-afford lang ana is ang mga dato and the Maharlika people. Mo ni siya ang pinaka-luxury na before na wares from China. Okay? And letter B, iron ore, this is locally sourced. Filipinos melted their own iron for tools and weapon. And cloves, on the other hand, this is more associated with Indonesia's Spice Islands. And pepper naman, this is traded but less prestigious than porcelain. Okay? Ang pinakakuan dyan is, ang luxury wares from China is the porcelain mo. Ang pinakamahal nga i-import before nga gikan sa China. So let us proceed to question number 34. What were barter rings used for in pre-colonial trade? What were barter rings used for in pre-colonial trade? Letter A, marriage tokens. Letter B, unit for exchange. Letter C, religious offerings. Letter D, defensive weapons. The timer starts now. Okay. What were the barter rings used for in pre-colonial trade? The correct answer will be letter barter rings. That is marriage. Barter rings. That is units of exchange. Letter B. Again, the barter rings used for in pre-colonial trade, which is units in exchange. Okay? Remember that barter is in exchange of goods. Okay? Ang barter rings, mao na siya ang ginatawag nila for unit of exchange. It is because unit of exchange, thus as iron and copper rings circulated around currency in barter system. So mauna mo ang currency sa barter system. And then marriage tokens naman, this is wedding gift, existed but weren't standardized as rings. And religious offerings naman, this is ritual gifts, took different forms like gold, amulets, something like that. Defensive weapons, this is a ring where too small and soft for combat. Okay. So let us proceed to question number 35. Which device did pre-colonial Filipinos use to catch fish in rivers? Which device did pre-colonial Filipinos use to catch fish in rivers? Letter A, bolo. Letter B, carabao cart. Letter C, bubu, which is a fish trap. Letter D, harpoon. Siya di pa kaka-answer ani. Timer starts now. Okay. So which device did pre-colonial Filipinos use to catch fish in rivers? The correct answer will be bo fish trap. Letter C. Na nagay fish trap. Oh, sorry na ko na siya na na nadaay ko na answer. So bobo. Even karon ginagamit paghihapon ni siya ang kaning fish trap. Akoan. So the correct answer will be letter C. It's because this is the bamboo or rattan made from bamboo or rattan, and this is effective for sustainable river fishing. And nakaagi pag yung ani nga kanang akong papa before is naa siya kanang ingani bubo na kanang pang fish trap god na ginagamit. Ibutang na sa akong papa pagkahapon, and then pagka morning adtuon na niya sa sapa, and then dagang fish na makasulod, even na kanang ano god, even na kanang crabs and shrimps makasulod po dito. So butangan ni papa og kanang mga sinugba na kanang mga pagkaon like mais, kamote, balanghoy, kanon, something like that. And then ibutang ni papa pagka gabi, and then adtuon balik ko ni papa pagka morning. So naana na misudan, ana gud tas makakaog dagko na mga fish. So ang bubo, it's made for bamboo or rattan trap. Okay? So this is very effective para sa fish trap. So bolo naman mo ano siya ang sundang, farming and clearing tool but not for fishing. Okay, kanang ginapanghagbas. And then Carabao cart, wow, mag tumbling na gyud ko pag mo nimong answer, Carabao cart. So this is land transport for goods, not aquatic use. O, di ba? Magtumbling jud ko pag mo na imong answer. Giunsa na nimo. So harpoon, this is used in deep sea fishing by coastal communities and less common in inland. So ang harpoon dito lang siya sa mga dagat na, okay? Sa lalom na nga mga parts sa tubig. Okay, next, let us proceed to question number 36. What term describe in pre-colonial Filipino sailor or seafarer? Okay, what term describe a pre-colonial Filipino sailor or seafarer? Okay, letter A, bagani. Letter B, panday. Letter C, paray. Letter D, mandaragat. Siya, mamali pa ka, ani? Timer starts now. Okay. What term describe a pre-colonial Filipino sailor or seafarer? A seafarer, that is letter D, mandaragat. Motambling na jud kog mamali pa kaanid dahi. So, mo na siya ang ginatawag sa kanang sailor or seafarer before a mandaragat, because mandaragat, this is a sea voyager skilled in navigation and boat handling. Ang bagani naman, this is warrior, hero in Visayan societies. Panday, this is blacksmiths or craftsman. Paray, this is rice grower or farmer. So, ang seafarer before, mo na siya ang ginatawag og mandaragat. Let us proceed to question number 37. The maritime network that linked pre-colonial Philippines with China and India is known as the maritime network that linked pre-colonial Philippines with China and India is known as the letter A, Spice Route, letter B, Silk Road, letter C, Maritime Silk Road, letter D, T-Horse Road. Timer starts now. Okay. So the maritime network that linked pre-colonial Philippines with China and India is known as the letter C, Maritime Silk Road. Okay? So na siya maritime network. So ang answer is Maritime Silk Road. Okay? Okay, Maritime Silk Road. This is sea lanes enabling exchange of silk, ceramics, and precious metals. Okay, so mao na siya ang ginakuanan sa India ug China before um ang link sa pre-colonial Philippines between China and India mo na siya ang Maritime Silk Road. Okay. So spice route, this is primarily through the Indonesian archipelago but overlapped with Philippine trade. Ang Silk Road, this is overland path across Central Asia, not maritime. Okay, and T-Horse Road, this is overland trade in China, Tibet, and Burma. Okay? So ang dalan nga naga-link between during sa pre-colonial Philippines with China and India is mo na siya ang Maritime Silk Road. Okay, let us proceed to question number 38. Which plant fiber was woven into cloth by early Filipinos? Which plant fiber was woven into cloth by early Filipinos? Letter A, abaca. Letter B, cotton. Letter C, silk. Letter D, jute. Timer starts now. Okay. Which plant fiber was woven into cloth by early Filipinos? The answer will be letter A, abaca. So man na siya ang plant fiber nga ginabuhat nila og sinina before woven into cloth by early Filipinos ang abaca. It's because ang abaca way back before this is indigenous banana relative and valued for strong and durable fibers. Okay, mo na siya ang kuan sa mga Filipino before nga ginabuhat nila og sinina. Ang cotton naman on the other hand, this is already introduced later via trade and colonization. Silk naman, this is imported in limited amounts but not locally produced. Ang jute, this is South Asian fiber and rare in the archipelago. So, before sa pre-colonial, ang ginagamit nila kuan silang sinina is abaca. Let us proceed to question number 39. What tool did pre-colonial weavers use to hold warp threads under tension? What tool did pre-colonial weavers use to hold warp threads under tension? Letter A, spinning wheel. Letter B, backstrap loom. Letter C, floor loom. Letter D, knitting needles. Timer starts now. Kahibulungan ka, lakay ka pareha. Okay, so unsa daw nga tool ang ginagamit sa pre-colonial weavers nga ginagamit para mugunit sa warp threads para makuan ang tensyon? Correct answer will be letter B, backstrap loom. It's because backstrap mao ni siya ang portable tied around the weaver's waist, adaptable to outdoor work. Ang spinning wheel, this is already introduced by Europeans. Ang floor loom, this is bulky. Later na kuan siya sa colonial era. And then knitting needles, this is not part of textile production in the archipelago. Okay, so the correct answer will be backstrap loom. It is because this is portable, tied around the weaver's waist, and then adaptable to outdoor work. Let us proceed to question number 40. 40. Which weapon was commonly carried by pre-colonial Filipino warriors? Which weapon was commonly carried by pre-colonial Filipino warriors? Letter A, rapier. Letter B, flintlock musket. Letter C, pistol. Sana all. Letter D, bow and arrow. Timer starts now. So, upang mga nakasubscribe, please pa-subscribe guys kay para maka-reach ta og wider audiences. Okay, the correct answer will be ay na. Sumbagan jud ta kag mag-answer ka dag pistol. Ang weapon na commonly ginadala sa mga Filipino during pre-colonial warriors, that is bow and arrow, letter D. It's because maupan na siya ang gaan and then silent, hindi walay saba. Sorry. And then very effective siya for ambush tactics. Okay? Nagapang-ambush mo na ginagamit nila para pang i-ambush nila ang mga Spaniards. Bow and arrow ang ginagamit sa mga early Filipino warriors. Ang rapier naman, this is European sword introduced. Ano sa word? So rapier, this is European sword introduced much later. Ang flintlock musket naman, this is arrived in 16th century. So, dili na siya kuan, pre-colonial. Pistol naman, this is post-colonial introduction. Okay? So, dili siya mo ang ginagamit. So, again, ang ginagamit sa mga Filipino warrior before is a bow and arrow. It is because siya gaan and then dili siya saba and then effective for ambush tactics. Question number 41. The term sandugo refers to a pre-colonial practice of. Again, the term sandugo refers to a pre-colonial practice of letter A, feasting together, letter B, blood compact, letter C, trade negotiation, letter D, marriage vow. Timer starts now. By the way guys, at ang time today sa ako ang pag-create aning review materials ninyo alauna sa kaadlaw no. So mo na nga dapat kamo maningkamot jud mo kay ako pod naningkamot pud ko nga mag-provide sa inyo hang mga questionnaire tapos gina generalize na ako. And then mo ni siya mga updated ni siya na mga questionnaire and then naningkamot jud og pangita og kanang mga source kanang reliable source Naningkamot jud kog pangita og mga reliable source para sa karagdagan sa mga naipon nako ng mga questionnaire. So, the only thing I need from you guys is to pass the board exam. So, kung naka-help ni siya sa imo ha, palig kog subscribe, like, and then comment din haa sa baba para maka-reach pa ta og wider audiences para makatabang ta sa katong mga tao nga nagkinahanglan og mga reviewer, mga updated na reviewer. So let us proceed for number 41. The term sandugo refers to pre-colonial practice of letter. The correct answer will be letter B, blood compact. Ang sandugo refers to blood compact. Okay? And then, ang sandugo naman, the blood compact, this is a symbolized trust and alliance between rulers. Okay? Symbolize trust and alliance between rulers. And then, ang feasting, this is common ritual but not designated by sandugo. So, ang feasting is kanang kuan na siya sa mga rituals. Feasting before ni siya sa pre-colonial period ni siya. And trade negotiation, this is formal contracts, use gifts and oath. Okay? Ang negotiation is the formal contract na ginagamit para sa gift and panunumpa. Marriage vow naman, this is separate customs and not involving blood ritual. Okay? The correct answer will be sandugo term is for blood compact. Number 42, what name did Spaniards give to tattooed Visayan warriors? What name did Spaniards give to tattooed Visayan warriors? Letter A, Pintados. Letter B, Pintok. Letter C, Pintara. Letter D, Pintuko. Grabe na sab ng pinto ko eh. Okay, timer starts now. Okay. So the name na ginahatag sa mga Spaniards to the tattooed Visayan warriors is letter A, Pintados. Okay, ang Pintados is matatagpuan sa Visayan region. So ang mga tattoo, daghang kay mga tattoo nga person before mga Visayan warrior mo na siya ginatawag sa mga Spaniards as pintados. It is because pintados, this is the painted ones noted for full body tattoos. Okay, mo na siya ang pintados, and then it will be located in the Visayan region. Pintok naman, this is no historical basis. And Pintara, this is incorrect variant. Pintokod, this is non-existent term. So the correct answer will be pintados because manas nila ang naka full body tattoos. Okay. Next, we have number 43. Number 43, which epic from the Maranao people is a UNESCO recognized masterpiece? Which epic from the Maranao people is a UNESCO recognized masterpiece? Letter A, Ibong Adarna. Letter B, Biag ni Lamang. Letter C, Darangan. Letter D, Indarapatra. Timer starts now. Okay. Correct answer will be which epic from the Maranao people is a UNESCO recognized masterpiece? That is letter C, Darangan. It's because Darangan, mo na siyang na-recognize sa UNESCO for the masterpiece of Maranao people because Darangan, this is a Maranao oral tradition rich in heroic and courtly themes. Okay? And then, Ibong Adarna, this is folktale. Okay? Dili siya epic. Okay? This is folktale from the Spanish period. Biag ni Lamang, this is Ilocano epic. Dili siya pang Maranao. Separate cultural region. Biag ni Lamang, this is Ilocano epic, separate cultural region. So the correct answer for Maranao epic is Darangan because Maranao oral tradition in heroic and courtly themes. In Darapatra, this is episode within the Darangan but not the title. Okay, and in Darapatra, this is just an episode. Dili siya ang title. And then let us proceed to question number 44. The Manunggul jar, an important pre-colonial burial artifact, was discovered in the Manunggul jar, an important pre-colonial burial artifact, was discovered in A. Kalanay, B. Tabon Caves, letter C. Butuan, letter C. Calao Cave. Timer starts now. All right. So, the Manunggul jar, an important pre-colonial burial artifact, was discovered in letter B. It was discovered in Tabon Caves. Okay? And a Manunggul jar na discovered siya sa Tabon Caves, it is because this is cradle of civilization. Yielded jars, tools, and human remains. Okay? Dito nakita ang katong burial jar nila nga manunggol. Okay? Sa Tabon Caves. Kalanay naman, on the other hand, this is archaeological site but not where the jar was found. In Butuan naman, this is famous for both excavations but not the jar. Ang Calao Cave, this is site of early human find but no manunggol jar. So again, the manunggol jar, ang katong burial jar sa mga people before sa pre-colonial was found in Tabon Caves. Let us proceed to question number 45. Shell middens found at pre-colonial sites indicate a diet rich in. Shell middens found at the pre-colonial sites indicate a diet rich in letter A, grains, letter B, seafood, letter C, livestock, letter D, fruits. Okay, timer starts now. Okay. Ang shell middens found at the pre-colonial sites indicate the diet rich in shell na gani, no? So, the correct answer will be letter B, seafood. It's because ang seafood lang man ang may shell, di ba? Ang livestock, ang fruits, ang grains. Okay. Letter B, shell. Shell middens ang rich in seafood. It's because ang seafood, man siya, ang shell heaps are direct evidence of shellfish consumption. Ang grains, this is less evident in shell-filled refuse pits. Okay, so dili siya mo answer. Ang livestock, this is chicken and pigs eaten but leave bone deposited. So ang bukog ang ma-deposit. Ang fruits naman, this is organic remains rarely preserved archaeologically. Number 46, which cave complex is dubbed in the cradle of Philippine civilization? Which cave complex is dubbed the cradle of Philippine civilization? Letter A, Kalanai. Letter B, Tabon. Letter C, Calao. Letter D, Butuan. Correct answer will be, timer starts now. Okay. So which cave complex is dubbed in the cradle of Philippine civilization? That is letter B, Tabon. So ang cave complex is dubbed in the cradle of Philippine civilization in the Tabon. It's because during over 4,000 artifacts now, evidence continues human habitation sa Tabon Cave. Okay? And then in Kalanay, this is important but secondary to Tabon's richness. Calao naman, this is hominin site but less cultural material. Butuan, this is riverine excavation but not a cave complex. Okay? So, number 47. The fossil species Homo luzonensis, um, the fossil species Homo luzonensis was discovered in The fossil species Homo luzonensis was discovered in A. Kalanay, B. Tabon Caves, C. Calao Cave, D. Butuan River. Timer starts now. Okay. The fossil species Homo luzonensis was discovered in letter C. In the Calao Cave. Ang species na Homo luzonensis na-discover siya sa Calao Cave. It's because the Calao Cave during sa 67,000-year-old bones, new species discovery. So, na-discover ang bones dito 67,000-year-old sa Calao Cave. Okay? So, dito ang na-discover ang Homo luzonensis na species, which is aging 67,000-year-old bones. Grabe. And then Kalanay naman, this is open air site with tools but not hominin fossils. Ang Tabon Caves, this early Homo sapiens remains but not in Luzonensis. Butuan River, this is waterlogged site, no early hominin remains. And then number 48, what implement did pre-colonial Filipinos commonly use to harvest rice? Unsa daw ang gina-implement sa pre-colonial Filipinos para mag-harvest og rice? Letter A, axe. Letter B, sickle. Letter C, scythe. Letter D, hoe. Timer starts now. Guys, palihog kog subscribes katong wala pa naka-subscribe, please. Okay. What implement did pre-colonial Filipinos commonly use to harvest rice? That is letter B, sickle. Okay, ang sickle, this is curved blade optimized for cutting grain stalk. Okay? Ang axe naman, this is for wood cutting tool. Ang scythe, this is larger, less portable, and this is already in European region. Ang hoe naman, this is soil tillage, not in harvesting. Okay? So the correct answer will be sickle, curved blade optimized for cutting grain stalks. Number 49. Which early Filipino belief best describes their view of nature? Which early Filipino belief describes their view of nature? Letter A, monotheism. Letter B, animism. Letter C, ritualism. Letter D, dualism. Timer starts now. Okay. Which early Filipino belief best describes their view of nature? The correct answer will be letter B, animism. It's because mo pa ni siya ang belief nila before, ang Filipino belief, kuan pa sila og animism. Animism, this is spirit-inhabited animals, plants, and natural phenomena. So, diya sila nagasamba. Monotheism naman, this is arrived later with Islam and Christianity. Rationalism, this is philosophical system, not spiritual practice. Dualism, this is Chinese and Western influence, not in pre-colonial period. Okay, so ang way of belief sa mga Filipino before is animism, which is nagasamba sila sa mga animals, plants, and natural phenomena. Let us proceed to question number 50. What term describes the spirit medium or shaman in pre-colonial barangays? Again, what term describes the spirit medium or shaman in pre-colonial barangays? Letter A, umaluhokan. Letter B, babaylan. Letter C, madaragat. Letter D, timawa. Timer starts now. Okay, correct answer will be letter B, babaylan. So ang term that describes the spirit medium or shaman in pre-colonial barangays, ang ginatawagan na is babaylan. It's because babaylan, mauni siya ang mga priestess or healer, mga diwatahan, mediator between human and spirit world. So mauni siya ang concept early Filipino sa pre-colonial history, pre-colonial period. Ang ginakaan nila para sa nagapangtambal, nagakuan sa ilang mga dictate sa ilang features, ilang mga buluaton is ang babaylan. Okay? Umaluhukan, this is a town crier or messenger for dato. Mo ni siya ang taga-balita, taga kuan sa mga batas sa dato o sa mga hatol sa dato o nang umaluhukan before. Ang mandaragat, this is seafarer, okay? Timawa, this is a freeman class, serve warriors and dato. So ang kuan ang mga Filipino before sa spirit medium sa shaman nila is babaylan. Let us proceed to question number 51. Who was regarded as the supreme deity in ancient Tagalog belief? Okay, who was regarded as the supreme deity in ancient Tagalog belief? Letter A, Indaneo. Letter B, Mayari. Letter C, Tayala. Letter D, Bathala. Okay, timer starts now. Kung sa itawag kay Embre, ang supreme. Ay, wala, sorry, wala start. Ang tawag kay Embre. Encantadilla lang ang peg. Okay. Who was regarded as the supreme deity in ancient Tagalog belief that is Bathala. Si Bathalang Embre. Muna ko sa mga Tagalog. Okay, Bathala, this is creator god central to Tagalog cosmology. So, mo ni siya, kumbaga, ang God the Creator sa Tagalog, ang term na ilang ginakuan is Bathala. Ang Indaneo, this is goddess of labor and good deeds. Secondary in Pantheon. And Mayari, this is moon goddess, symbolizing feminine power but not supreme. Ang Tala, this is star goddess, guiding traveler at night. So, ang mga supreme na kanang God ang term sa supreme God sa mga Tagalog is Bathala. And number 52, what term described a pre-colonial Filipino warrior? What term describe a pre-colonial Filipino warrior? Letter A, Timawa. Letter B, Mandirigma. Letter C, Panday. Letter D, Babaylan. Timer starts now. Okay. So what term describe a pre-colonial Filipino warrior that is letter B, Mandirigma. Mga Mandirigma man na siya ang mga Filipino warrior. Mandirigma, this is professional warrior class, held high social regard. So manage ang mga professional warriors nag-aagid og mga training, mga eskwela, something like that. And then held high social regard. So, dagang kay ma-attract ani ng mga Filipina. Timawa, again, this is free men who owned military service but not full-time warriors. Panday, this is blacksmith, maker of weapons rather than a fighter. So mga tigpanday lang ni sila og mga swords, mga galamiton para sa warriors. Babaylan, this is priestess or healer focus on spiritual matters. So, ang babaylan mo na siya ang naga-foresee sa ilahang kakaharapin na mga battle or nagatambal, naga-protect sa ilaha during sa pre-colonial history. Let us proceed to question number 53. Which native boat featured a double outrigger and sail? Which native boat featured a double outrigger and sail? Letter A, Balangay. Letter B, Parao. Letter C, Caracoa. Letter D, Venta. Timer starts now. Guys, subscribe na mo guys, please, para maka-reach pa ta og daghan ng mga nagapangita og mga reviewer material. Okay, so which native boat featured a double outrigger and sail? That is called letter B, Parao. Okay, ang native boat featured a double outrigger and sail. That is Parao. Parao, this is a fast sailboat, ideal for inter-island travel and fishing. Ang balangay, this is a plank boat used for migration and cargo with single outrigger. So ang balangay, single lang siya ang outrigger. And then ang Parao, this is paspas siya nga ginagamit for fast sailboat, ideal for inter-island travel and fishing. Ang Caracoa naman, this is warship adorned with bark, shields, and used by Visayan Dato. Ang Vinta, this is colorful sailboat native to Mindanao with a single outrigger. So ang duha ka buok ka ng outrigger is the Parao. Okay, let us proceed to question number 54. How did pre-colonial sailors primarily navigate open seas? How did pre-colonial sailors primarily navigate open seas? Letter A, compass. Letter B, animal guides. Letter C, star patterns. Letter D, written maps. Timer starts now. Okay. So, paano daw ang mga pre-colonials mag-sail primarily to navigate the open seas by using letter C, star pattern. Okay, before wala pa'y compass, wala pa'y written map, something like that. So, ang ginagamit nila is ang star, ang pattern sa stars. Ang star, this is a celestial navigation skill passed down through oral tradition. Again, celestial star patterns, this is celestial navigation skill passed down through oral tradition. And then compass, this is introduced to the region centuries later, but dili siya sa pre-colonial history. Animal guides, this is no evidence of trained seagoing animals. So, di ba, lain, pero gamiton nimo ang iro para mag-navigate kung asa ang direction. And then written maps, this is not used. Navigation depend on memory and landmarks. Grabe ilang memory before, no? Like, maano nila ang mga landmarks. Okay, let us proceed to question number 55. Which group in the archipelago had already embraced Islam before Spanish arrival? Which group in the archipelago had already embraced Islam before Spanish arrival? Letter A, Tagalog. Letter B, Ilocano. Letter C, Moro. Letter D, Visayan. Timer starts now. Okay, so which group in the archipelago had already embraced Islam before Spanish arrival? That is letter C, Moro. Okay, so sila ang Islam na before paniabot ang mga Spanyol. Okay? Moro Group, this is Muslim sultanates, established trade and faith links with Malay world. So Muslim na sila daan bago pa niabot ang mga Spaniards. Muna siya ang group in the archipelago nga already Muslim na bago ang Spaniards. So ang Tagalog naman, this is converted na sila later under Spanish rule. Ilocano, this is predominantly animist before Christianity. So animist pa ang mga Ilocano before, and then afterwards nahimo na sila into Christianity. Ang Visayan, this is maintained animist tradition until the 16th century. Okay, so the correct answer will be Moro. Number 56, the ancient Butuan boats excavated in Mindanao are examples of. The ancient Butuan boats excavated in Mindanao are examples of letter A, Caracoa warships, letter B, Parao fishing boats, letter C, Balangay plank ships, letter D, Venta trading vessels. Timer starts now. Okay. So, the ancient Butuan boats excavated in Mindanao are examples of letter C, Balangay plank ships. Because Balangay plank ships, this is dugout plank boats showcasing advanced carpentry. Okay, mo na siya ang ancient Butuan boats nga gi-excavate sa Mindanao. Mo na siyang example for Balangay plank ships. And then, Caracoa naman, this is a larger, heavier, war-oriented vessel. So, dako siya. And then, Bugat. Ang Parao, this is smaller, outrigger sailboats. Ang Parao, again, this is ginagamit para, mo siya ang paspas o dagan. It is because na siya duha ka, outrigger sailboats. And then, Venta naman, this is distinctive for colorful sails, less common in Butuan. Number 57, the Kalatagan pot shows inscriptions in which script? The Kalatagan pot shows inscription in which script? Letter A, Roman. Letter B, Sanskrit. Letter C, Baybayin. Letter D, Arabic. Timer starts now. Okay. By the way guys, kung wala pa mo nakasubscribe, palihog ko og like and subscribe para maka-reach ta og wider audiences. Okay? Maka-reach ta og daghan pa nga mga person na gusto mag-review and then gusto og materials ng ani mga updated materials focusing on social studies. Okay? So the Kalatagan pot shows inscriptions in which script? Letter C, Baybayin. So Kalatagan pot shows inscription in the script of Baybayin. Okay? Because Kalatagan, this is pre-colonial syllabary inscribed in pottery. Okay, ang Baybayin, this is pre-colonial syllabary. So ang Kalatagan pot shows the inscriptions in the script of Baybayin. Again, Baybayin is the pre-colonial syllabary inscribed in pottery. Ginagamit siya, ginakuan siya sa mga pottery. Ang Roman naman, this is brought by the Spanish colonizer. Sanskrit, this is influenced Southeast Asian region but not used here. Arabic, this is introduced later with Islam. And number 58, which group is considered the earliest inhabitants of the Philippine Islands? Kine mo na siya ano kanang challenging. Which group is considered in the earliest inhabitants of the Philippine Island? Letter A, Malays, B, Austronesians, letter C, Negritos, letter D, Chinese. Timer starts now. Okay, the correct answer will be letter C, Negritos. Magina sila ang considered as the earliest inhabitants of the Philippines. Number 59. Hold on. It's because the Negritos, this is a small stature hunter-gatherers dating back over 40,000 years. And then ang Malays naman, nag-arrive siya later in migration waves. Ang Austronesians naman, this is broad agricultural and seafaring after the Negritos. Okay? And then Chinese, this is the traders who began to contact millennia later. So ang first gid nga earliest inhabitants gid sa Philippines is the Negritos. Okay? Next, we have number 59. Which highland people practiced headhunting as a rite of passage? Which highland people practice headhunting as a rite of passage? Letter A, Tagalog. Letter B, Bicolano. Letter C, Igorot. Letter D, Pangasinan. Timer starts now. Okay. Which highland people practice headhunting as a rite of passage? Letter C, the Igorot. Okay? Ang nag-practice og headhunting as a rite passage is the Igorot. Igorot, this is the mountain tribes where headhunting symbolizes bravery. And in Tagalog naman, this is coastal traders and farmers, but no headhunting tradition. Ang Bicolano, this is known for rice terraces, not headhunting. Pangasinan, this is lowland farmers, no such practice. Okay, so let us proceed to number 60. Which pre-colonial Filipinos elaborate tattoos primarily signified? Which pre-colonial Filipinos elaborate tattoos primarily signified? Letter A, agricultural skill. Letter B, marital status. Letter C, social rank and valor. Letter D, religious devotions. Timer starts now. Okay, the correct answer will be among pre-colonial Filipinos, elaborate tattoos primarily signified as letter C, social rank and valor. So the more nadaghan sila og tattoo, the more sila nga taas ilahang rank. Okay, sa ilahang bravery, naga-signify sa ilahang bravery, sa ilahang social rank ang mga tattoo. Okay, so social rank and valor. This status were badges of honor and okay. Social rank. There's a social rank and valor. This status were badges of honor and warriors. Agricultural skill. This is not depicted in tattoo motifs. Marital status occasionally mark life stages but less common. Religious devotion, this is marking of deities, was rare in body art. Okay, so ang gina-elaborate gid sa tattoo primarily signified sa Filipino sa pre-colonial is for social rank and valor. Okay, whew, nahuman ra kita sa part 2. Amazing. Okay, so that would be it for our part 2. So, kung wala pa subscribe din ha, palihog ko, please do like and subscribe for us to reach wider audiences para maka-reach sa makahelp ta sa daghan pa nga mga reviewer. Wala ko ilaing pangayon sa inyo ha, kundi ang mag-subscribe, mag-like sa videos para mas makatabang pa ta sa daghan ng mga reviewers. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Ayaw jud og kalimot og like and subscribe and see you sa part 3. Okay, bye-bye.